My name is Iris Archer, and I'm 33 years old. 2 weeks ago, my mother rang my doorbell for the first time in 9 years. She was standing on my porch in a beige cardigan, holding a carry-on suitcase and a folded sheet of paper. That paper wasn't an apology. It was a list, handwritten in blue ink, bullet points, every single one attached to a dollar sign. The total came to $925,000. She didn't say sorry. She didn't ask about her grandchildren. She said, "We need to talk about the family's future." What my mother didn't know was that I had been keeping a list of my own for 9 years. Every birthday card she returned unopened, every voicemail she ignored, every message my sister sent about me behind my back. 29 entries, each one labeled, dated, and stored inside a navy blue binder I kept at the bottom drawer of my desk. She came with a list of what she wanted. I came with a list of what she had done. Before we go further, if you're new here, take a moment to like and subscribe. It helps more than you know. And while you're at it, leave a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is there. I always like reading those. Let me take you back to the summer I turned 24. The summer my family decided I was no longer one of them. Millfield, Ohio, population just over 2,000, one Baptist church, one barber shop, one diner where every booth smelled like coffee and bacon grease, no matter the hour. That was my town, my entire world until I was 18. My father, Kenneth, worked at the lumber yard on Route 7 for 31 years. Same shift, same boots, same quiet nod when he walked through the door at 5:42 every evening. My mother, Diane, ran the household and the church women's committee with equal precision. She organized Easter brunch, coordinated the prayer chain, and decided who brought what to every potluck. No one argued. My sister Paige was 4 years younger and everything I wasn't. Loud, confident, the kind of girl who was voted homecoming queen and acted surprised. Mom adored her. Dad called her sunshine. I was the quiet one. The one who did the dishes without being asked, got perfect scores on math tests, and never got a celebration for either. I don't say this with bitterness. I say it because you need to understand the math. In our family, love was a budget, and Paige was the line item that always got funded first. When I was 18, I received a full scholarship to Ohio State. I was the first Archer to go to college. My mother packed my suitcase and slipped a card inside, the kind with flowers on the front and her handwriting on the back. "Come home soon. You belong here." I kept that card for 15 years. It still sits in my desk drawer right next to the navy binder. It was the last kind thing she ever wrote to me. I met Marcus Ellison in advanced statistics during my junior year. He sat 2 rows ahead of me and solved regression problems like they were grocery lists. Calm, methodical, unhurried. He was an engineering major with a computer science minor on a partial scholarship from Cleveland. His mother, Cora, was a retired school librarian. His father, white and suburban, left when Marcus was 4. Cora raised him alone, working 2 jobs until he turned 16, then one job while volunteering at 3 schools. Marcus was biracial. He had his mother's eyes and his father's jawline, and a way of listening that made you feel everything you said mattered. Our first date was at a taco truck near campus. He paid with crumpled dollar bills. I paid with quarters. We split a horchata and talked until the truck closed. He told me he wanted to build something, though he didn't yet know what. Something that solved a real problem. I told him I wanted a job where numbers meant something. He said we were in the right field. We dated for 3 years before he proposed. 3 quiet, steady, unremarkable years. He met my parents twice. The first time, my mother smiled too widely and called him Michael instead of Marcus. The second time she called him Marcus, but didn't look at him when she said it. Both times, my father shook his hand and said almost nothing. I told myself it was nerves. Small-town people just needed time. Paige was the honest one. At Thanksgiving, she leaned over and whispered, "He's nice, but Mom is never going to be okay with this." You know that, right? I didn't know that. Not yet. Marcus proposed on a Tuesday. At first, there was no ring, just a conversation at our kitchen table in our small apartment near campus. He said, "I want to spend my life with you. I want to build something with you. Will you let me?" I said yes before he finished the sentence. That night I called home. My mother answered on the third ring. I remember the silence that followed. I counted 7 seconds. You need to think about what this means for this family, Iris. No congratulations. No questions about a ring. Just a warning. My father came on the extension. He cleared his throat twice and said nothing. 2 days later, Paige texted me. Mom has been crying since you called. Are you happy now? I was happier than I had been in years, but I didn't reply that. 2 weeks after that call, a letter arrived. Not an email, not a text. A handwritten letter in my mother Diane Archer's cursive on cream stationery. 4 paragraphs. The last one read, "If you go through with this, you are choosing him over your family. We cannot support this. We will not attend. And if you walk down that aisle, do not expect to walk back through our door. He is not one of us, Iris. He never will be." That was the line. Drawn in blue ink on cream paper, as if she expected me to step over it and stand on her side instead. I read it 3 times, folded it, and placed it in a manila folder. I did not know why I kept it. Something in me, the part that files receipts and labels bank statements, told me to hold on, so I held on. We got married at the Multnomah County Courthouse on a Saturday in June. 12 guests, all friends, all from Marcus' side. His mother, Cora, flew in from Cleveland with a garment bag and a Tupperware of pound cake. She pinned a silk flower to my dress, held both my hands, and said, "Welcome to the family, baby." No father walked me down the aisle. There was no aisle, just a hallway with fluorescent lights, a judge who mispronounced our names, and a reception at a Thai restaurant where we pushed 4 tables together. Marcus's college roommate gave a toast that made everyone laugh so hard. Cora spilled her water. My dress cost $160 from a consignment shop on Hawthorne. White simple, it fit perfectly. Marcus wore a navy suit he bought on clearance. We looked like 2 people who had just done the most important thing of their lives on a budget. Because we had. That night, in our apartment, I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the bouquet. Grocery store roses, $6. And my hands shook. Not from doubt, but from grief. I had just gotten married, and the 2 people who raised me did not care enough to watch. 1 week later, I mailed a card to Millfield. Inside was our wedding photo. Marcus and me on the courthouse steps, grinning. I wrote, "We are happy. I hope you can be happy for us someday." The card came back 11 days later, stamped in red, "Return to sender." I stared at that stamp for a long time. Then I opened the manila folder, placed the card inside, and wrote in red pen, "Item 2, wedding photo returned." That was the beginning of the binder. Year 1 was the hardest. I called Mom 4 times, voicemail every time. I left messages, short, careful, the kind where every word is chosen because you know it might be the last one she ever hears. "Hi, Mom. Just calling to say hi. We are doing well. Marcus got a job at a software company downtown. I am studying for the CPA exam. I miss you. Call me back whenever you are ready." She never called back. I sent a card for her birthday, a card for Dad's birthday, a card for Christmas. All 3 came back with the same red stamp. Dad sent 1 text in February, 4 words. "Your mother needs time," that was it. No follow-up, no second text. Those 4 words sat in my phone like a voicemail I could not delete. Paige posted a family photo on Facebook that spring. Mom, Dad, Paige. Paige's boyfriend at the time, all smiling. The caption read, "Sunday dinner with my people." I was not in the photo. I had never been invited. I printed the screenshot, not to torture myself, but because I had started doing something I could not explain, filing things. Every returned card, every unanswered call log, every piece of evidence that my family had decided I no longer existed. I placed them in the manila folder, and by March it was thick enough that I transferred everything into a binder. Navy blue, 3-ring, with tabs. "He is not one of us." Her voice played in my head at strange moments in the grocery store, at the dentist, at 2 a.m., when Marcus was asleep and the apartment was dark. I wanted those words to stop hurting. They did not stop, but they grew quieter. The binder got thicker. By year 2, Marcus quit his job. Not recklessly. He had a plan. For 6 months, he had been building a prototype on nights and weekends. A compliance platform for small businesses. Software that made SEC filings and financial audits less painful for companies that could not afford a legal team. He understood compliance. I understood finance. Between us, we understood the exact problem nobody else wanted to solve: making regulatory paperwork manageable for companies with fewer than 50 employees. He set up a desk in our garage, 2 monitors, a space heater, and a whiteboard he bought at Goodwill for $12. I came home from my analyst job each evening, heated leftover soup, and sat beside him, reviewing financial models until midnight. I built the pricing structure. I wrote the compliance checklists. I tested every module against real SEC guidelines. Marcus built the engine. I built the dashboard. Neither of us slept enough. Compliance Core launched 7 months later with 4 customers and a free trial that crashed twice on day 1. That year, I also did something else. I upgraded the binder. The Manila folder had overflowed. Returned cards, voicemail transcripts, one Facebook screenshot, and the original ultimatum letter on stationery. I bought a proper binder, navy blue, 3-ring, with dividers for each year, red pen labels on every item, tab 1, year 1, 7 items. I was not building a case. I was not planning revenge. I was doing what I had always done. Keeping records, because I was a financial analyst, and financial analysts do not throw away documentation, ever. But I did start numbering the items, and I did start writing dates on each one, because numbers do not lie, and neither would I. Liam and Sophie arrived on a Wednesday morning in November. 6 pounds each. Identical dark curls. Sophie screamed for 4 hours straight. Liam slept through all of it. Marcus cried. I had never seen him cry before. He held Sophie in his left arm, and Liam in his right, and stood by the hospital window, saying, "They are going to know they are loved every single day." Cora flew in the next morning. She stayed 2 weeks. She cooked, she cleaned. She rocked Liam at 3 a.m. while I fed Sophie. She brought a blanket she had crocheted, yellow and white, soft enough to make you cry, and a silver bracelet for each baby engraved with their birthdays. That was what a grandmother looked like. I had sent Diane the ultrasound photos 5 months earlier, returned. I sent birth announcements, 2 cards, 1 for each twin, returned. I sent photos. Liam sleeping on Marcus's chest, Sophie gripping my finger, returned. 3 items added to the binder. Items 13, 14, 15. Paige texted someone we both knew from high school. The mutual friend screenshotted it and sent it to me without comment. Paige's message read, "Her children don't have real grandparents. That is what she chose." I sat in the nursery with that text on my screen for 11 minutes. Sophie was asleep in the crib. Liam was in my arms. I could hear Cora in the kitchen humming something low and soft while she washed bottles. My children had a grandmother. Her name was Cora Ellison, and she flew in from Cleveland every 6 weeks, never missing a single birthday. I printed the text pages and filed them. Item 16, dated in red ink. By year 4, the binder held 19 items. I want to be clear about something. I did not keep that binder out of spite. I did not sit with it at night, feeding some fantasy of confrontation. Most weeks, I forgot it existed. It stayed in the bottom drawer of my desk, behind tax folders and old insurance documents, gathering dust. But every time something arrived, a returned card, a forwarded screenshot, a voicemail transcript I saved because deleting it felt like erasing proof. I filed it. Same process. Print, label, date, red pen tab. Marcus asked me once, "Why do you keep all of that?" I told him the truth. Because someday, when the kids are old enough, they might ask why they don't have grandparents on my side, and I want them to have facts. Not my version, not her version. The receipts. He nodded. He understood receipts. He was an engineer. Engineers keep build logs. By then, Compliance Core had 11 employees. We had moved out of the garage into a real office in the Pearl District. Marcus worked 60-hour weeks. I worked 40 hours at my firm and another 20 on Compliance Core books. We hired a part-time nanny for the twins. We ate dinner together every night at 6:30, non-negotiable. The silence from Ohio had become a fact of life, like weather. Some days I noticed it, most days I did not. Cora visited every 6 weeks. The twins called her Grammy. She taught Liam how to make grilled cheese. She taught Sophie the names of every bird in the backyard. I did not know it then, but that binder would become the most important document in my life. More important than my degree. More important than our marriage certificate. More important than the IPO filing I would sign 5 years later. By year 5, we had 15 employees and a real office, with a sign on the door, and a conference room, with a whiteboard that was not from Goodwill. Compliance Core was growing. Not fast, not flashy, but steady. The kind of growth that does not make headlines, but pays salaries and keeps the lights on. Marcus still coded. He refused to become the kind of CEO who stops building the product. Most mornings he was at his desk by 6:30, headphones on. Deep in architecture problems I did not pretend to understand. I handled everything else. Cash flow, vendor contracts, quarterly projections. The company was his vision, the numbers were mine. We bought our first house that year, a craftsman bungalow in the Selwood neighborhood of Portland. 3 bedrooms, original hardwood, a backyard with a plum tree the twins claimed as their fort. I remember signing the mortgage papers and thinking, this is ours. Nobody gave this to us, we built it. Liam started kindergarten, Sophie started kindergarten. They rode the same bus, sat in the same row, and argued over the window seat. Normal, beautifully, painfully normal. On a Tuesday night in October, I made the mistake of opening Facebook. Diane had posted a family photo from what looked like a Thanksgiving preview dinner. New dining set, Paige and her husband, a baby in a high chair, Paige's son, my nephew, I had never met him. Caption, my whole world, 3 people in the photo, a baby, a table, a family that did not include me, my children, or the man I married. I closed the app, went to bed, and did not cry. I had stopped crying about Diane Archer somewhere around year 3. Some wounds do not heal. They just go numb. Paige got married in year 6. I learned about it through Instagram. The photos were beautiful. White church, the same Baptist church where I was baptized at 12. 200 guests. Paige in a cathedral-length veil, Mom in lavender, Dad in a new suit I had never seen. The reception had a live band, a 5-tier cake, and a sparkler send-off that looked like a movie. They did not invite me. They did not tell me. I found out 4 days later when a high school friend posted a group photo with the caption, "Best wedding of the year." I zoomed in. My parents were in the second row, smiling, arms around each other. Dad looked thinner. Mom looked exactly the same. I stared at the photo for a long time, not because I was jealous of the wedding. I had my wedding. 12 people, Thai food, a $160 dress, and the best man I ever knew. I stared, because they looked happy, and they looked happy without me. I did something I probably should not have done. I ordered sets of handmade linen napkins from a shop in Portland, Ivory, monogrammed with Paige's new initials. I wrote a card. Congratulations on your wedding. I wish you and your husband every happiness. Love, Iris. The package came back 3 weeks later, unopened. I could see the tape untouched. Item 17, gift return, Paige's wedding. Red pen, dated. I put the binder back in the drawer, closed it, and sat at my desk, listening to Sophie, singing in the bath, and Liam arguing with Marcus about whether dinosaurs could swim. That was my family in the next room, and they were enough. Year 7 changed the trajectory. Compliance Corps landed its Series B, $12 million from a venture capital firm in San Francisco. I remember the phone call. Marcus was in the kitchen making pancakes for the twins. His phone rang. He listened, nodded, hung up, turned to me and said, "They said yes." I did the math before the pancakes were finished. 12 million in funding, post-money valuation of 68 million. Marcus and I still held 22%. We were not rich yet, but the numbers were moving somewhere. I had only ever modeled in spreadsheets. I left my analyst job that month and joined Compliance Corps full-time as CFO. It was the first time my name sat on company paperwork next to his. We were partners in everything. We moved to a larger house, a 4-bedroom colonial in Lake Oswego, 15 minutes south of Portland. Good schools, quiet neighborhood, a kitchen island where the twins did homework, while I reviewed quarterly reports on the other end. The Series B made a small splash in the press. TechCrunch ran a 4-paragraph piece. 2 fintech newsletters mentioned it. Nothing major. The kind of coverage people in the industry noticed and everyone else scrolled past. But someone in Millfield, Ohio, did not scroll past. 2 weeks after the TechCrunch article, a friend from high school texted me, "Hey, kind of random, but your mom asked me about your husband's company at church on Sunday. She wanted to know what Series B meant. Just thought you should know." I read that text 3 times. Mom had not spoken my name in 7 years. She did not know what Series B meant, but she wanted to. The math was changing, and Diane Archer was paying attention. That same year, I sent what I knew would be my last birthday card. I had sent one every year. 7 straight years, 7 returns. Each one filed, each one labeled. But this time I tucked something extra inside. A photo of Liam and Sophie at their school's fall festival. Matching flannels, face paint. Liam was missing his 2 front teeth. Sophie was grinning so wide, her eyes were almost shut. On the back of the photo I wrote, "They ask about you sometimes. I tell them you live far away." I sealed the envelope, mailed it, and expected the usual red stamp. It came back in 9 days. But something was different. The envelope had been opened. The flap was creased, then resealed with a strip of clear tape. I held it up to the light. The card was still inside. The photo was still inside. But someone had taken them out, looked at them, then placed them back carefully, deliberately, and sent it back. I sat at the kitchen table and turned the envelope over in my hands for a long time. Someone in that house, Dad, I was almost certain, had opened the card, looked at his grandchildren's faces, held the photo, and then someone else, Mom, I was certain, had made him put it back and return it. He wanted to keep it. She would not allow it. Item 23, birthday card, opened and resealed. Photo viewed. Still returned. I wrote the label with a steadier hand than I expected, because I had suspected for years that Dad was not the architect of this silence. He was the enforcer. Mom was the architect. And the blueprint was simple. If she could not control who I loved, she would erase me from the fee entirely. Year 8. Compliance Corps was growing faster than either of us expected. 80 employees, offices in Portland and Austin, a partnership with two of the largest accounting firms in the Pacific Northwest. Marcus was featured on the cover of a regional business magazine. Small print run, local distribution. But his face was on a glossy cover with the headline, The Quiet Disruptor. That month, I noticed strange activity on my LinkedIn. Someone from Field, Ohio, had viewed my profile 3 times in 1 week. No visible name. Likely a private browser or burner account. But the location was clear, Millfield, Ohio. Then Forbes released its annual companies to watch list. Compliance Corps ranked number 47 out of 50. A small mention, 2 sentences, but it was Forbes. I did not think much about the LinkedIn views until a few weeks later, when Marcus was invited onto a fintech podcast. The episode ran 45 minutes, mostly technical, compliance, automation, API integrations, federal reporting standards, not exactly viral content. But 3 days after it aired, my old friend from Ohio texted again. Your mom told Linda at church she always knew. Marcus was smart. Direct quote. Linda said Diane sounded proud. First time she has mentioned your name in years. Always knew Marcus was smart. 7 years of silence, and now, always knew. I did not add that to the binder. It was not a document. It was hearsay. But I wrote it on a post-it and stuck it inside the cover. Because I wanted to remember the moment Diane Archer started rewriting history. She was not proud of Marcus. She was not even sorry. She was recalculating. The numbers were getting bigger, and my mother was an accountant of a different kind. The group chat arrived on a Monday. My friend from Ohio, Tess, the one who kept me updated on church gossip, called me at 7 in the evening. She sounded shaken. Iris, Paige accidentally added me to a family group chat. I think she meant someone else with a similar number. I was in it for 3 days before they noticed and removed me. I took screenshots. She sent 7. 3 days of unfiltered Archer family conversation. I read them in the parking lot of Liam's soccer practice. Paige, his company was valued at $68 million last round. I've been tracking the funding filings. If they IPO, we're looking at $300 million minimum. Diane, how do we approach this? She will not listen to me. Kenneth, maybe I should call first, feel her out. Diane, no. I need to go in person with a plan, a real plan. Paige, make a list. Be specific about what we need. She's a numbers person. She will respond to numbers. Diane, how much should we ask for? Paige, start with the mortgage, then medical, then retirement. College for my son, monthly support, layer it. Make it look like family investment, not a request. Kenneth, this does not feel right. Diane, Kenneth, she has more money than this entire town. She can afford to help her family. Kenneth did not reply after that. I sat in my car with the engine off. The dashboard clock read 7:22. Through the windshield, I could see Liam running across the field, chasing a ball twice his size. My hands were shaking, not from sadness, but from clarity. 9 years of silence. 9 years of returned birthday cards, ignored grandchildren, and a cream-colored letter that said, "Do not walk back through our door." And now that the numbers had changed, they wanted to come forward with a plan. I drove home, printed the screenshots, and filed them. Item 26. Family group chat. Financial tracking. Reconnaissance confirmed. If this story is hitting close to home, if you've ever had someone cut you off and come back when the numbers changed, drop a comment. Tell me, because I think more of us carry this than we admit. And while you're here, subscribe if you haven't yet. I told Marcus that night after the kids were asleep. I showed him the screenshots. He read them once, slowly. The way he reads code, line by line, looking for bugs. When he finished, he set the phone on the counter and stared at the wall for a long time. What do you want to do? Nothing yet, but I want to be ready. He nodded. That was Marcus. He did not tell me what to feel. He did not suggest we ignore it or confront it, or anything in between. He asked what I wanted, and then he stood next to me while I figured it out. The next morning, I called a family attorney. Not to sue, not to file anything. I wanted to understand our position. What were our rights if Diane showed up? Could she make any legal claim to our assets, to the children? The attorney, a woman named Grace in her mid-50s and no nonsense, walked me through everything in 20 minutes. No, Diane had no legal standing. Our trusts were structured to protect the children's assets. No grandparent visitation rights in Oregon without an existing relationship. And 9 years of documented estrangement made any claim laughable. I thanked Grace, hung up and went to work. But I also did something else that week. I drafted a letter. Not to send, just written at the kitchen table after midnight. In it, I listed every item in the binder, every date, every returned card, every ignored call, every screenshot. 26 items, dated, documented, ready. Year 9. The IPO conversation began in January. Investment bankers flew into Portland. We had 3 rounds of meetings in our conference room. The one with the whiteboard still from Goodwill. Though no one needed to know that. They reviewed our financials, growth projections, and customer retention rates. They used terms like roadshow, pricing range, and lockup period. Marcus handled the product pitch. I handled the numbers. Every slide, every projection, every risk disclosure. My name was on it. CFO, co-founder, the person who signed every SEC filing before it left the building. The process took 7 months. 7 months of due diligence, legal review, and investor meetings. Marcus barely slept. I barely ate. The twins started noticing. Liam asked why Dad kept talking to his laptop at dinner. Sophie drew a picture of me at my desk with a speech bubble that said, "One more email." In August, our attorney finalized the trust structure for Liam and Sophie. 2 irrevocable trusts, funded and protected. No one, not Diane, not Kenneth, not Paige, not any future Archer with a list, could touch a dollar. I signed the trust documents on a Tuesday afternoon in a corner office overlooking the Willamette River. The attorney asked if I had any questions. I had one. If a family member tries to claim access to these funds, what happens? Nothing, she said. That's the point. I went home, made dinner, helped Sophie with long division, and placed the trust documents in the fire safe under our bed. Then I noticed something strange. For the first time in months, no one from Millfield had viewed my LinkedIn. No texts from Tess about church gossip. No digital footprints at all. Quiet, the dangerous kind. 2 months before the IPO, Paige texted me for the first time in 9 years. The message arrived at 2:17 on a Thursday afternoon. Hey, just thinking about you. How are the kids? 6 words, 9 years. And how are the kids? As if she had been asking regularly. As if this was a continuation instead of a resurrection. I did not reply for a week. I wanted to see if she would follow up. She did. A second text. I am going to be in Portland for work next month. Would love to see you. Marcus said it was my call. I agreed to meet her. Not at our house, but at a cafe in the Pearl District. Public, neutral, time limited. Paige arrived 15 minutes late, wearing a blazer and ankle boots. She looked like she had practiced being casual. She hugged me too long. She said, "You look amazing," 3 times in the first 10 minutes. Then she started asking questions. How big was our house? Did the kids go to private school? What neighborhood did we live in? Was Marcus still running the company, or had he stepped back? How many employees now? Had we raised more money recently? 32 questions. I counted. Not one was "I am sorry." Halfway through our lots, I noticed something in the cafe window reflection. Paige had her phone angled toward the parking lot. She was photographing my car, a white Tesla Model Y Marcus had bought me for my birthday. She was scouting, cataloging, building a report. I let her finish her latte. I answered her questions vaguely, politely, the way you answer a bank teller's small talk. When we hugged goodbye, she held on too long again. She ordered a latte and asked 32 questions. I counted. The only question she did not ask was the only one that mattered. After the cafe, I drove straight home and opened the binder. Item 28. Page reconnaissance visit. Date. Red pen. Notes. 32 questions documented. Vehicle photographed. No apology offered. No mention of past estrangement. Then I called Grace, the family attorney, for the second time. They are coming, I told her. My mother, probably within weeks of the IPO. She will bring demands. Grace asked what kind of demands. I told her about the group chat, the screenshots, Page's instructions to layer it, and make it look like a family investment. Grace was quiet for a moment. You have documentation? I have a binder. How thorough. 28 items, dated, sourced 9 years. Another pause. Iris, you do not need me for this. You need me for the legal structure. The trusts, the estate separation. That is already done. What you are describing is not a legal confrontation. It is a personal one, and for that, you just need to decide what you are willing to say. She was right. This was not about lawyers. This was about a woman who showed up at my door because the numbers had changed, and whether I was going to let her rewrite 9 years of silence into a story about a misunderstanding. I sat at my desk that night and pulled out the letter I had drafted months earlier. The one listing every item in the binder. I read it, then put it back in the drawer. I did not need a letter. I had the binder itself, 28 items, 9 years. Every returned card, every ignored voicemail, every screenshot, every piece of evidence that my family had erased me. Not because I had done something wrong, but because I loved someone they refused to accept. The binder would speak for itself. Compliance Corps went public on a Wednesday in October. Marcus and I stood on the NASDAQ floor in New York, him in a charcoal suit, me in a navy blazer, and watched the stock open at $18 a share. By noon, it reached 20. By close 22. Market cap $440 million. Marcus and I held 10%. Net worth on paper $44 million. $44 million. I did not know what to do with that number. It did not feel real. It felt like a spreadsheet cell someone had typed incorrectly. Too many zeros. A formula error. But the zeros were correct. I had checked the formula. That was my job. TechCrunch ran a feature. Forbes called for a comment. Bloomberg placed Marcus's face in a sidebar. A local Portland news station did a 3-minute segment. Local couples fintech startup hits NASDAQ. They showed our company photo. 2 founders side by side. Equal. Marcus and me. We celebrated with room service sushi in our hotel room overlooking Times Square. Liam and Sophie were back in Portland with Cora, who had flown in for the week. Marcus fell asleep on the couch at 9:15, still in his suit jacket. I stayed awake, not because of the IPO, but because I knew what was coming next. I checked my phone. 5 missed calls. Area code 740, Millfield, Ohio. 3 more from a number I did not recognize. 1 from Kenneth, 1 from Diane. I did not call back. I set the phone face down on the nightstand and stared at the ceiling. 9 years. $44 million. And suddenly, Iris Archer was worth knowing again. I fell asleep with my hand over the phone, as if it might ring again. It would. Kenneth's voicemail arrived the next morning while I was brushing my teeth. His voice was thinner than I remembered, older. The cadence was the same, slow, careful, a man who measured words like lumber. But something underneath had shifted. There was a crack in it. Baby girl, I saw you on the news. You and Marcus on the stock exchange floor. I didn't know what to say, so I am calling. I am proud of you. I have always been. A long pause. Breathing. Your mother wants to talk. She has things she wants to discuss. Please call her back when you can. I love you, Iris. I played it 3 times. Baby girl. He had not called me that since I was 14. And I am proud of you. 4 words I had waited a decade to hear. But then I rewound it again, listening differently, to the structure. He called after the IPO. Not after the wedding, not after the twins were born, not after the 7 returned birthday cards, the ultrasound photos, or the birth announcements. After the IPO. He was proud of me on paper. He had always been proud of me on paper. What he had never been was brave enough to pick up the phone when there were no millions attached. He is not one of us, Iris. He never will be. I heard Mom's voice, but it was Dad who enforced the silence. He could have called any year, any day. He chose this one. The one with $44 million attached to my name. I saved the voicemail. I did not add it to the binder. It was too sad for the binder. Instead, I sat on the hotel bathroom floor and let myself feel it. Everything. For about 4 minutes. Then I stood up and packed my suitcase. We had a flight to catch. Diane's text arrived 2 days after we got home from New York. It was long, carefully composed. No typos. No autocorrect errors. No casual abbreviations. A draft she had written, edited, likely read aloud to herself. Iris, I know we have lost time. I think about you and the children every day. Life is short, and I have learned that some things matter more than the differences that divide us. I would like to talk about the future, about the children, about what it means to be a family. There are things that families should share. I believe we can find a way forward if you are willing. I read it twice. 63 words, carefully chosen, and not one of them was sorry. Not one said I was wrong. Not one acknowledged she had disowned me for marrying a man whose skin was a different shade than hers. Not one mentioned returned birthday cards, ignored grandchildren, or 9 years of silence weaponized. The differences that divide us, she wrote, as if this was a philosophical disagreement. Not a woman telling her daughter, he is not one of us, and returning 7 years of birthday cards unopened. I did not reply. I screenshotted the text, printed it, and opened the binder. Item 29. First text from Diane in 9 years, 63 words, 0 apology. Red pen, dated. I closed the binder, returned it to the bottom drawer, and sat at my desk, looking at the framed photo beside my monitor. Marcus, me, and the twins at Cannon Beach, squinting into the sun. Liam on Marcus's shoulders. Sophie holding my hand. That was my answer. Tess called on a Friday. Paige is telling everyone she visited you in Portland. She says you live in a mansion, her words. She's telling people Marcus struck gold. You drive a Tesla and the kids go to private school. I leaned against the kitchen counter. Half of that is wrong. It's not a mansion, and the kids go to public school. Iris, that's not the point. Your mom is planning a trip. Paige told Linda at the salon Diane is coming to Portland next week. She's packing a suitcase. I closed my eyes. I know. How? Because Paige counted every room in that cafe and photographed my car. Silence on the other end. Then, what are you going to do? I'm going to open the door. You're going to let her in? I'm going to let her talk. And then I'm going to show her what I've been keeping in the bottom drawer of my desk for 9 years. I hung up and stood in my kitchen. The kitchen with the island where Sophie did homework. Liam built Lego towers. And Marcus made pancakes on Sundays. Cora's photo was on the fridge, next to the twins' field trip picture. Grammy Cora, the only grandmother they had ever known. Diane was coming. I had known it since the group chat, since Series B, since LinkedIn views, church gossip, and Paige's 32 questions at the cafe. The numbers had changed, and Diane Archer was coming to collect. But I was not the same girl who left Millfield at 18 with a scholarship and a mother's note that said, "Come home soon." I was a CFO, a mother, a woman with a binder, and I was ready. The irony was not lost on me. In Millfield, news traveled through the Baptist church like water through limestone. Slow, everywhere, impossible to stop. When I married Marcus, the Whisper Network done its work in 48 hours. Diane Archer's daughter married someone who was not like us. The women on the prayer chain clucked. The men at the diner shook their heads. And Diane used that pressure like a weapon. She disowned me partly because she could not bear the whispers. Now the whispers had reversed, Tess told me. Linda at the salon told Tess. The church organist told Linda. Iris Archer's husband was on NASDAQ. Iris Archer was a CFO. Iris Archer was worth $44 million. And Diane Archer, the woman who ran Easter brunch and coordinated the prayer chain, had disowned her own daughter 9 years ago for marrying him. People were not whispering anymore. They were asking Diane questions to her face. You must be so proud. When did you last visit the grandkids? Are you going out to Portland for the holidays? And Diane had to smile through every one of them, because admitting the truth, that she had cut off her firstborn for loving someone she refused to accept, would destroy the carefully curated image she had spent a decade building. The same town that had let her cut me off was now asking her why. Diane could not tell them she was estranged from her daughter, without admitting she was the one who drew the line. And she could not pretend everything was fine without someone inevitably asking. Then, where was Iris at Christmas? The pressure had flipped, and Diane Archer, the woman who once wielded social pressure like a scalpel, was now the one being cut. She arrived on a Tuesday at 10:14 in the morning. I know the exact time, because I was standing at the kitchen window drying a mug when I watched the taxi pull up. She stepped out slowly. Beige cardigan, black slacks, the same pearl studs she had worn to church every Sunday since I was a girl. A small carry-on suitcase worn at the corners. She stood on the sidewalk for a full 30 seconds before walking up the path. I watched her take in the house, the craftsman details, the porch swing, the garden beds Marcus had planted in spring. She looked at it the way a real estate appraiser would, evaluating. The doorbell rang. I opened the door. We stood 3 feet apart. She looked older, more gray in her hair. Lines around her mouth that had not been there 9 years ago. Her eyes, the same shade of green as mine, were already wet. Iris, Mom. Silence. 4 seconds. I came to talk about the children's future. Not I came because I missed you. Not I came because I was wrong. Not even I came because I love you. Just. I came to talk about the children's future. The children she had never met. The children whose photos she returned in sealed envelopes. Children. Paige said did not have real grandparents. I looked at the suitcase. I looked at the folded piece of paper in her right hand. Come in. I did not lead her to the living room. I led her to the kitchen. The kitchen had a table. It had good light. It had the fridge with Cora's photo, the twins' artwork, and a world map where Sophie marked every country she wanted to visit someday. The kitchen was where truth lived in this house, and truth was what we were about to have. She sat at the table. I poured 2 glasses of water. No coffee. Coffee was for people who were staying. She looked around the kitchen. Her eyes landed on the fridge, on Cora's photo. Grammy Cora holding Liam and Sophie on her lap at the beach, all 3 laughing. Diane stared at it for 5 seconds. Something passed over her face. I could not tell if it was guilt or jealousy. Then she unfolded the paper. Her handwriting, blue ink, 5 bullet points, each one neat, deliberate, the result of what must have been hours of calculation. She read them aloud. Retirement fund for your father and me, $500,000. I said nothing. College fund for Paige's son, Thomas, 200. Nothing. Medical expenses. Your father's knee surgery, 45,000. Nothing. Mortgage payoff. The family home, $180,000. Nothing. Monthly support, $3,000. She folded the paper and placed it on the table between us, then looked at me. This is what families do, Iris. Your father worked his whole life. He sacrificed for you, for both of you. It is time to give back. I stared at the list. $925,000 itemized, calculated, presented like an invoice. Not once during the reading did she say my name alongside the word sorry. Not once did she acknowledge she was sitting in a house she had never visited, asking for money from grandchildren she had never held. Her children don't have real grandparents. That is what she chose. Paige's words echoed. I picked up the list, read each line once more, folded it, and set it down. Then I stood and walked to my office. The bottom drawer was exactly where I left it, beneath the tax folders, behind old insurance documents. I pulled out the binder, navy blue, 3-ring, heavy, the kind of weight that comes from 9 years of documentation. I carried it back to the kitchen and set it on the table beside the folded list of demands. 2 documents. Hers 1 page, 5 bullets, $925,000. Mine, 29 items, 9 years, 0 apologies received. Diane looked at the binder. What is that? You brought a list, Mom. I sat down and placed my hands flat on the table. I brought one too. She stared at the binder, at the red pen labels visible through the clear cover at its thickness. Nearly 3 inches of tabs, documents, printed screenshots, and returned birthday cards still in their original envelopes. I don't understand. You will. I opened the binder to tab 1 year 1, and I began to read. I did not raise my voice. I did not cry. I did not perform. I read the way I read quarterly reports to a board, factual, structured, item by item. 9 years of receipts, documented, dated. Every returned card, every ignored voicemail, every screenshot, every piece of proof that Diane Archer had systematically erased her firstborn daughter from the family. Not because I had done something wrong, but because I loved someone she refused to accept. The binder was not revenge. It was not a weapon. It was a record. And records do not negotiate. They do not argue. They do not forgive or condemn. They simply tell the truth. And I had 9 years of truth to share. Tab 1, year 1. I pulled out the first item, a birthday card in a white envelope, a red stamp across the front, returned to sender, still sealed. I placed it on the table. Item 1, birthday card, mailed September 12th, 2017, returned September 23rd. Diane's eyes widened. I pulled out the second item, another envelope, same stamp. Item 2, wedding photo. Mailed June 14th, 2017. Returned June 25th. A third. Item 3, Christmas card. Mailed December 8th, 2017. Returned December 21st. I laid them out one by one slowly, the way you lay out evidence in an audit. No commentary, no emotion, only documents arranged in chronological order. Diane's mouth opened, then closed. She stared at the growing line of envelopes on the table. White rectangles marked with red stamps, each one a door I had tried to open, and she had shut. These are the birthday cards I sent you every year for 9 years. Every single one came back. Iris, I am not finished. I moved to tab 2, year 2, 3 more items. A voicemail transcript. My words printed from a transcription app and stapled to a dated note. An unanswered call log. Diane's Facebook post, my whole world. With no Iris, no Marcus, no grandchildren. Item 4, voicemail to you. January 7th, 2018. Duration 47 seconds. No callback. Diane pressed her fingers to her lips. Her eyes were wet. Item 5, text from Dad. February 12th, 2018. 4 words. Your mother needs time. I set the printout on the table. It has been 9 years, Mom. How much more time did you need? The tears came. I expected them. Diane covered her face with both hands and made the sound I had heard 1,000 times growing up, the controlled, performative cry she used when she wanted sympathy without surrendering dignity. The same cry when Dad forgot their anniversary. The same cry when the church didn't choose her casserole for the potluck finals. I was hurt, Iris. You chose him over us. You left. I did not leave. You told me not to come back. That is not. I was upset. People say things when they are upset. I flipped to tab 4, year 4, and pulled out a printout. Item 16, text from Paige to a mutual friend forwarded it to me. March 9th, 2021. I read it slowly. Her children don't have real grandparents. That is what she chose. Diane flinched. Paige did not mean this. This is Paige's exact text. Word for word. I moved to the last tab. The screenshots, 7 pages. Item 26, family group chat. Screenshots provided by a mutual friend, accidentally added. October 4th, 2025. I read Paige's message. Make a list. Be specific about what we need. She is a numbers person. She will respond to numbers. Then Diane's. She has more money than this entire town. She can afford to help her family. Diane's face changed. The tears dried. Something harder surfaced. Something I recognized. The same expression she wore when Paige broke the good china and blamed the dog. Anger. Not guilt. Anger. You had no right to read that. I looked at her, steady. You had no right to return my children's photos. The kitchen went silent. I reached for one final item. Tab 5, year 7. The envelope was slightly different from the others. Same white paper, same red stamp, but the flap was creased. The glue had been cut and resealed with a thin strip of clear tape. I held it up. Item 23. Birthday card, year 7. Inside was a photo of Liam and Sophie at their school's fall festival. On the back, I had written, "They ask about you sometimes. I tell them you live far away." I set the envelope on the table. This card had been opened. Someone looked at their photo, looked at their faces, and then sealed it again and sent it back. Diane's jaw tightened. Who opened it, Mom? Nothing. Dad opened it. He wanted to keep it. And you made him send it back. Diane's hands were flat on the table now. Her eyes stayed on the envelope, on the tape. She whispered something so quiet I almost missed it. I was afraid. I waited. If I let him keep it, if I let any of it in, I would have had to admit I was wrong, that I lost 9 years for nothing, that I pushed away my grandchildren because I was too proud to. She stopped, swallowed. For a second, maybe 2, I saw something real in her face. Not performance, not manipulation, actual fear. The kind that lives under anger for so long it forgets how to come out any other way. Then it was gone. Her chin lifted. Her posture stiffened. But you left us, Iris. You made your choice. The moment of honesty evaporated like steam off a coffee cup, gone before I could hold it. I placed Diane's list of demands on the left of the table. I placed the binder on the right. 2 documents side by side. Your list, $925,000. 5 bullet points, no apology. I tapped the binder, my list, 29 items, 9 years of silence. 9 years of returned birthday cards and ignored grandchildren and a daughter you erased because she married the wrong man. Diane's nostrils flared. I did not erase. You told the church I abandoned you. You told Paige to tell our friends my children did not have real grandparents. You tracked my husband's company for months and came to my door with an itemized invoice. I closed the binder. The metal rings clicked shut. You did not come here because you missed me, Mom. You came here because the numbers changed. Diane stood up so fast the chair scraped against the tile. After everything we did for you growing up, the food, the clothes, the school supplies, this is how you repay us. You raised me. That is not a debt. That is what parents do. We gave you everything. You gave me a card that said, "Come home soon." Then you told me not to come back. She had no answer for that. I could see her searching, scanning through her mental Rolodex of guilt, leverage, and blame, finding nothing that fit. You said he was not one of us, but for 9 years his mother was the only grandmother my children had. The words hung in the kitchen like smoke. She heard them. I watched them land. She had nothing left to say. The garage door rumbled. Marcus walked in through the laundry room, keys in one hand, laptop bag over his shoulder. He saw Diane. He saw the binder on the table. He saw me. He did not speak. He set his bag down on the counter, walked to where I was sitting, placed his hand on my shoulder, and sat down beside me. That was it. No words, no confrontation, no dramatic entrance. Just a man sitting next to his wife, because she needed him there. Diane looked at Marcus, the man she had refused to accept 9 years ago. He wore a flannel shirt, running shoes, and a watch that cost less than her pearl studs. Nothing flashy, nothing that said 44 million, just a man, a good man, a father, a husband. And he was right there, hand on my shoulder, saying everything without speaking. Diane stared at his hand, at my shoulder, at the space between us. No tension, no performance, no need for words. She understood. I did not need the Archer family. I had already built my own. I spoke quietly, the way you deliver a final number on a balance sheet, factual, complete, no revision pending. Mom, I will not give you money. She opened her mouth. I continued. Not because I cannot afford it. Because the moment I write you a check, you will believe you were right to stay away until it became profitable to come back. You will tell yourself, and Paige, that this is what family does. That the silence was a misunderstanding. That the 9 years were just a rough patch. I picked up her list and held it out. They were not a rough patch. They were a choice. Your choice. Every returned card, every ignored voicemail, every photo of your grandchildren you looked at and sent back. She did not take the list. It hung between us. If you want to know your grandchildren, really know them, not as a line item on a financial plan, it starts with an apology, not to me, to them, and it does not start today. It starts when you are ready to mean it. Diane took the list, picked up her suitcase, and walked to the front door. She stopped, turned around, opened her mouth, closed it again, walked out. The door clicked shut, not a slam, just a click. The sound of someone leaving, who knew they had lost something they could not buy back. If someone showed up in your life, only after the numbers changed, I need to hear your story. Drop it in the comments. And if this video reminded you, your worth is not a dollar amount, share it with someone who needs to hear that. 2 weeks passed. Marcus and I did not talk much about Diane, not because we avoided it, but because there was not much left to say. She came with a list. I showed her a binder. She left without apologizing. The math was settled. The twins did not know she had visited. They were at school both times, arrival and departure. I preferred it that way. They would learn about Diane Archer when they were old enough to understand that some people only see you when the light is right. Kenneth called. Not on a weekend, but a Tuesday morning at 9:14, while I was reviewing a vendor contract at work. Iris, your mother told me what happened. I should have opened that door for you 9 years ago. I should have picked up the phone. I should have driven to Portland the day the twins were born. I should have done a lot of things. His voice cracked. I am sorry. Not because of the money. I do not want your money. I want to know my grandchildren. And I want to know if you will let me try. I was quiet for a long time. 17 seconds. I counted. I believe you, Dad. But believing you and trusting you are different things. We start slow. Phone calls every 2 weeks. No visits yet. No money. Just ticking. He agreed. That is more than I deserve. It is exactly what you deserve, not more, not less. We hung up. I went back to my contract. Paige texted once, one line. You could have just helped. I did not reply. Some messages are their own answer. Diane did not call, did not text, did not write. The silence returned. But this time it was hers. I had said everything I needed to say. The next move was hers. The binder stayed in the bottom drawer. 29 items, 9 years. I did not add a 30th. I hoped I never would. Here is what 9 years of silence taught me. Family is not the people who share your last name. Family is not the people who show up when your net worth changes. Family is the people who show up when your world is small, your garage is cold, and your babies need a grandmother. The people who fly from Cleveland every 6 weeks, crochet blankets, and teach your son how to make grilled cheese. That is family. And it was never about money. It was about showing up. That is my story. 9 years, 29 items, 1 navy binder. If this story reminded you that your worth was never about the numbers, share it with someone who needs that today. Drop a comment, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.